Hello everyone, and welcome to Noodle Journey, your destination for detailed and informative reviews of the instant noodle universe. Today's review is a trio of new ramen bowls that are a collaboration between two very well-known brands. From A-Sha and Hot Ones, we've got Taiwanese Tingly Pepper Ramen, Sizzling Chili Garlic Ramen, and Fiery Hot Tonkotsu Ramen. Before we get started, just as a reminder, if you like this review, please like, share, and subscribe to help out this channel. I've got to say, Target has really upped its instant noodle game these last few weeks because not only did they start exclusively carrying buldak yakisoba, but now they also have these three ramen bowls from A-Sha and Hot Ones. I paid $3.82 for each of these as a sale price through the Target Circle app, but they regularly cost $4.49 where I live, so right away, I'm not thrilled with the price point. These are decently sized bowls, but I have a feeling that that price is going to scare away some potential customers unless it comes down just a little bit. And I get it. Even though these are made by A-Sha, you are paying for the Hot Ones branding on these, just like you're paying for David Chang's branding on A-Sha's Momofuku noodles. And I'm not trying to denigrate the spicy internet juggernaut that is Hot Ones, of course. Their sauces are overpriced, but I think the ones I've tried are actually really good. And I give them a lot of credit for promoting small businesses' hot sauces on their shows. That's something that I take very seriously, and I find it commendable. A-Sha, if you're unfamiliar, is probably the leading noodle company in Taiwan right now. They sell their own noodles with a variety of sauces. They manufacture noodles for David Chang from Momofuku. They make those Hello Kitty noodle cups that you see everywhere. And they make these. And the quality of their air-dried noodles is, I think, like stellar. So I have high hopes for these bowls based on their pedigree. One more important thing to note before I start listing ingredients and reviewing. A-Sha has also released a different assortment of Hot Ones ramen cups very recently. And those look to be eventually making their way to Walmart stores instead of Target stores like these. Those are smaller than these are and are also different flavors than these. So I'll be reviewing those three at some point, hopefully once I can find them. And whichever of the Hot Ones cups or bowls you might want to buy, you can also find all 6 current varieties for sale on A-Sha's website, ashadrynoodle.com. And they do have frequent coupons and discounts all the time if you order direct from them. So these are in order from left to right, from mild to medium to hot. And I'm going to review these in true Hot Ones style, meaning the first one up on the review docket is the Taiwanese Tingly Pepper flavor. And the sodium on all of these bowls is pretty high, but this first one is absolutely nuts. 2,470 milligrams, which is 107% of your daily recommended allowance of sodium. So please exercise caution if you cannot eat that much sodium. All right, so opening this up, we've got a round block of nice-looking air-dried noodles. They've got a decent-looking glossy finish, but they are thinner than I've ever seen from A-Sha before. We've got a liquid sauce packet, a vegetable packet, and this spice packet, which says caution extremely hot. Now, as far as ingredients in the sauce, we've got various spices, which I'm assuming is going to include Chinese 5-spice based on the fact that this seems to be a Taiwanese-style beef noodle soup. There's also mushroom extract in here, and all of that is intended to create an artificial beef and Sichuan peppercorn flavor. In the veggie packet, assuming I read everything correctly, there is supposed to be dried mushroom, cabbage, carrot, and scallion. And then this spice packet, which of course is chili powder, is something that you add in slowly to adjust the heat to your preferred level. All 3 of these bowls come with this spice packet, and don't worry, I will be tasting each one on its own before I add anything from here. So I'm going to add the sauce and the veggies first. That smells really beefy. Very nice. I'm getting a very maybe mild hint of some herbiness and maybe 5-spice in there, but it's not as pronounced as I would have expected, which might be good news for some of you that don't like those flavors. Okay, veggie packet next. No funny smells there. Actually very scallion forward, and I like that smell quite a bit. Yeah, so there's a decent amount of veggies in there, which I am very happy with. You can choose to steep these or microwave them. Either way, the fill line is on the side here. And so I'm going to choose to steep this one, but maybe we'll microwave one of the other ones and see how it comes out. I'll be right back. All right, and here we go. And I think it's worth pointing out that the instructions refer to the liquid as a sauce packet, but what comes out is very clearly a broth. So if you saw that on the packaging and expected this to be a sauced noodle, it's not, it's a soup. And it's a pretty healthy looking soup too. It's got a nice consistency, little oily, not crazy, and it's got a very herby, vegetable forward beef smell to it. Now, I can kind of feel from the texture that these noodles might be a little underdone from steeping. So I'm going to be very curious to try microwaving the other varieties and see if they come out a little better. But yeah, this smells nice. Let's give it a taste. Okay, noodle score first. I've never had this exact gauge of noodles from A-Sha before, and so I wasn't sure how it would hold up in a bowl form. I don't love the way these came out after steeping. I could feel it when I was stirring them. They're chewy and they have a pleasant thickness to them, but they probably needed a little bit longer. So I think for the next two bowls, I am going to try microwaving and see if it comes out a little better. As it stands, steeped at 4 minutes, the texture feels a little underdone, so I'm going to give them a 7 out of 10 in this form. So let's talk spice level before I add in that heat packet there. This is reasonably on the mild end by my standards, but if you are not used to spice, this will be spicy for you. And if you're a spice fiend, this is not going to do it for you. I think if you're a spice novice, this is a pretty good place to start because you're going to get used to this heat. You can gradually add the chili powder to train yourself. Without the chili powder, it's no worse than just an average supermarket hot sauce. And it's got that little promised tingle in it. So I'm going to give this a 3.5 out of 10 on my spiciness scale. But now I'm going to add the chili pepper into it. Maybe a little dash at first, see what happens. And then I'm just going to say screw it and dump the whole thing in. So pray for me. Oh, it's got a very nice peppery smell. Almost smoky, kind of like maybe chipotle, but probably spicier based on the caution label on the outside. So let's pour in a little bit of this and see what happens. Okay, so there's maybe like a quarter of that packet in here. And I'm going to guess because of that smoky element that it is going to affect the flavor of the broth a little bit. Oh yeah, that's got a little more of a kick to it, and it definitely gets you on the back end. I didn't taste it at first. I was like, what, that's it? And it's kind of coming up. So at a quarter of this pack, we're at like maybe a 4.5 out of 10 on my scale. Here, you're all gonna want to see this, right? Let's just dump the whole thing in. I may regret this. Well, yeah, that's a solid burn. So look, I'm not going to say it's the spiciest thing I've ever eaten. It's pretty far from it. But we're getting into Bulldog territory here. So with that entire packet added in, I think that brings this heat up to about a 7 out of 10. And it adds a nice smoky finish to the flavor, which, let me talk about that. As far as the overall score, so at its base, before you add the chili pepper into it, it's a very mushroom-forward beef broth with some very mild herbiness to it. It's got the tingly sensation of Sichuan peppercorn, but I don't quite taste that telltale kind of floral pungent peppercorn blend that I usually associate with that tingle. So by Taiwanese style broth standards, it is very muted as far as the 5-spice flavors go. But that's not bad. I actually like how very vegetable forward this is. I think the mushroom flavor is a really nice touch. Oh, there's a big piece of mushroom I missed before. Yeah, that's good. The vegetables in here are stellar. Like, there's a really good amount of them. They all came back very nicely. I got some in every bite. The artificial beef flavor is close enough to regular beef that I don't miss it. And I guess if you're coming in here expecting it to taste like beef flavored top ramen or even Shin Black, you're in for a slightly different take on beef soup. So yeah, I like it. Reasonable depth of flavor. I would like it if the noodles were done a little bit better. We'll see if microwaving helps it out next time. Oh, before I forget to mention it, yeah, the flavor from the chili packet does change the overall flavor of this in a subtle way. It's a little smokier, a little more pepper forward. It's a very welcome change. It's nice. It definitely brings this up a notch from a flavor perspective, plus the additional spice. So as an overall score, I think I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. And I would be inclined to give it more than a 7 out of 10 if it wasn't for that price point. I think it's a little expensive for what this is. But if you're okay with the price and you like a nice herby beef mushroom broth with a good kick of spice to it, I think you're going to enjoy this. Okay, so let's continue on with the medium heat one that I'm most interested in, the sizzling chili garlic flavor. And this time around, we've got another really high sodium level. Not as bad as the last one, though. 1,830 milligrams, which is 80% of your daily allowance. So let's look inside here. Okay, more air-dried noodles, of course, and surprise, because the package didn't indicate that there were multiple liquid packs here. So not only do we have a chili garlic soup base, we also have a chili garlic sauce, our veggie pack, and our spice pack. These two appear to be the same as in the previous bowl. So let me just mention, I don't know how the ingredients are broken up between these two liquid packs, but there's stuff in here like yeast extract, garlic, sesame oil, ginger, and tomato paste. And now I'm in a little pickle of how to review this, because do I just add the soup base and then see how it tastes on its own? Add the garlic sauce after? Should I put both liquids in at the same time? This is kind of a conundrum here. Let's go with just the soup base and veggies for right now, and I'll come back and taste it, and then I'll add the garlic sauce and then the spice pack. Nice umami garlic aroma coming off of that. I just licked a little drop of that soup base. The sesame oil is in there for sure. It does have a very mild spice tingle to it. Let's put the veggies in. And so this time I'm going to microwave this to see how the noodles come out, and I'll be right back. Okay, and this is what it looks like right out of the microwave with just the liquid soup base added. And as you can hopefully tell, it looks kind of just like a standard garlic soy broth. It actually smells pretty good even without that chili garlic sauce in it. One thing I completely forgot to mention when I talked about the ingredients, and I apologize because usually I put this information there. So this is again an artificial beef broth, just like the last one, but this is the only one that explicitly says vegan on the side of the package. Let me give this a try as is, then we'll start adding the other stuff to it. All right, so my question is kind of answered already. The soup base is a little bit bland. It's not bad. Honestly, I would probably score this like maybe a 5.5 out of 10 if this was all it was. But the intention definitely seems to be that you're supposed to put both of those liquid packs in when you cook this. So let's rectify that right now and see what it tastes like. So this is wild. This one smells like Szechuan peppercorn, almost like a mala sauce, which is what I expected out of the last variety, but I'm getting in this one instead. So I guess fool me twice, A-Sha. All right, well incorporated into the broth now. Let's try this again. All right, so at the risk of talking too much, let me get two things out of the way before I add in the chili powder. The noodles came out way better microwaved than they did steeped. So I was right about that, folks. If you have access to a microwave, microwaving these is the way to go. They feel like they're perfectly cooked at this point. I like the gauge, I like the texture, just the right amount of chewiness. I'm gonna say 8.5 out of 10 for the noodles. The spiciness for this, without the added chili pepper packet, is honestly just about where the first one was. 3.5 out of 10 on the spice scale. For something that says medium heat on the pack, the medium heat isn't really there prior to adding the chili powder. I'm very surprised about that. So I have some thoughts on the flavor, but I'm just gonna pour this whole thing in instead of doing it bit by bit. Yep. Smells like the same smoky pepper blend from last time. I'm gonna guess it's the exact same formula. All right, so once again, the heat gets you kind of on the back end, but it comes out to be about the same as it was with the Taiwanese tingly pepper flavor with the whole chili powder pack added into it. I'm gonna call this one a 7 out of 10 for spiciness also. And so now we gotta talk about the flavor, and I'm not happy with this at all. We were off to a promising start. The soup base started off all right. The flavors were a little bit muted, which of course meant that it couldn't stand on its own and needed the chili sauce to help it out. But I did like the flavors I was getting out of that. Just a nice umami, garlic, sesame, ginger combination. Then this chili garlic sauce comes into play. And I'm using the words chili garlic sauce because that's what A-Sha is calling this, but it's not. This is a mala sauce added into kind of a garlic soy soup base. And everything I liked about that soup base has now been obliterated by this chili garlic sauce. I'm finding it extremely bitter, extremely overpowering, and quite frankly, I don't like what it's done to the broth. I like mala sauce when the spices are balanced. This is not what I would call balanced. It's a really harsh flavor. I'm not sure what I expected this flavor to be, but it wasn't this, and I'm not pleasantly surprised. I am unpleasantly surprised. If you really like your spices to be bitter and pungent, then maybe this is for you, but nope. This is actually going to go in the trash after I'm done filming. The chili powder does add a little level of smokiness to it, which brings out a very slight shift in flavor, but not enough to save it. In my humble opinion, this is bad. This is inedible for me. Good noodles, good soup base, horrible sauce. So I think this is a 2 out of 10 for me. We were off to such a good start, A-Sha. I'm not happy that I paid almost $4 for this, and I feel like calling this chili garlic on the label is kind of a bait and switch for the flavor profile. Yeah, that's all I've got to say about this one. This is going in the garbage. Okay, so after that last crime against my taste buds, this fiery hot tonkotsu has nowhere to go but up. Probably. If you don't dabble in instant ramen too much and are just here for the hot ones branding, you should know that tonkotsu is typically a thick, rich pork bone broth that comes from Japanese cuisine. So with that covered, the sodium in this one is incredibly high again, 2,140 milligrams or 93% of your daily allowance. Alright, so inside the bowl we've got our noodle block. We're back down to a single liquid packet, a vegetable packet, and the optional spicy packet. The noodles, the veggies, and the chili powder are all the same as the others, but this time in the liquid pack we've got some fairly non-typical tonkotsu ingredients. There's no real pork in here, but there is milk, coconut oil, yeast, garlic powder, and various vegetable extracts. So generally when you see yeast in the ingredients of an artificial meat broth, it's to try to emulate the flavor of that meat. So A-Sha's making a clear attempt to make up for the lack of real pork extract by creating that rich umami flavor using other ingredients. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Let's see how it goes. Alright, it doesn't smell like tonkotsu, but it doesn't smell bad. Okay, veggies next. And since I know that microwaving these brings out the best in these noodles, I am going to do just that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here we go. I'll give it a quick stir, and I'm smelling a lot of garlic, which I can't complain about, and some mushroom. It smells pretty good. It honestly, in my brain, smells like what I thought the last flavor, the chili garlic, was going to smell like. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's give this a taste. All right, interesting. The noodle score is the same as the last time. If you use the microwave for these, I think they're an 8.5 out of 10. I really like the way they come out with the microwave. I did not like the way they came out with steeping quite as much. So this is the way to go. As far as the spice level goes, this is, unlike the previous two varieties, already pretty hot before I've even added in the chili pepper packet. I think this might just be a little bit spicier than something like Shin. Definitely has a much stronger kick to it. I think I'm going to call this a 6.5 out of 10 on my spiciness scale. But of course, I can't judge it completely without adding in the chili pepper. So here we go. I'm pretty certain that's the same pepper blend I smelled before. It's a little smoky, pretty nice. I'm sure it's going to change the flavor of the broth just a little bit. Let's see what it does to the spice level. Yeah, so just like before, the added spice comes in on the back end, whereas the spice that was included in the liquid packet kind of comes in at the beginning. So it's a pretty thorough burn. 6.5 already before that extra pepper went in there, and yeah, I think I'm probably feeling this at about an 8 out of 10 at this point, which is equivalent to Bulldog. So if you were looking for spicy, here it is. This definitely lives up to the Hot One's name, and it is by my standards the spiciest of the three, as promised on the label. Now, as far as the overall flavor goes, I really like this one. I don't know that it's necessarily better than the Tingly Taiwanese pepper was. It's definitely leagues better than the chili garlic was. What I'm tasting is exactly what I smelled. It's reasonably garlicky, mushroom-forward broth. It doesn't resemble Tonkotsu in any way, shape, or form. There's no creaminess, there's no real pork flavor here. Even the artificial flavoring, which is not bothering me, doesn't taste anything like pork, at least not to me. But it does have that mushroom umami going for it, a lot of garlic, a good amount of spice, and the spice is not overpowering the flavors in here that I like, which was my complaint from the last time. Once again, a generous assortment of vegetables in here, and they go well with the flavor of the broth. Yeah, I think I would buy this one again if it was on sale. I would probably omit the optional chili packet because I think the spice is nice without it. But at least with the spice added into it, I can't say that it made it any worse. It just made it hotter. So I'm comfortable giving this the same score I gave the Tingly Taiwanese pepper flavor, which is a 7 out of 10. Okay, so what did we learn today? First and foremost, I think these are all about $1 too expensive for what they are. Yes, they have liquid bases, good noodles, and generous vegetable packets, but that doesn't mean they should be almost $5 a bowl when they're not on sale. With that price tag, it's their way of saying, oh, you wanted something with a Hot Ones logo on it? Bend over. If I'm ignoring the price tag completely, I liked the Taiwanese tingly pepper and the fiery hot tonkotsu enough to softly recommend them from a flavor perspective. The sizzling chili garlic flavor I thought was completely inedible. It was just a total misfire of flavors once everything was fully assembled. But going back to that price point, my recommendation for these two is not what I would call overly enthusiastic because of how expensive these bowls are. So in my opinion, you won't miss much by skipping this product line altogether. But I know a lot of you Spice Heads and Hot Ones fans are very curious, so, take that with a grain of salt, and don't say I didn't warn you about the sizzling chili garlic flavor. And with that, this trio of reviews is over. If you do decide to try any of these, let me know what you think, as always. I will try to find the Hot Ones cups in the near future, and we'll see if they're better or worse than the bowls are. Until then, I hope you check out my other reviews, and I'll see you here again soon on Noodle Journey.